Hi, this is James from Drone Deer Services. In this video, I'd like to demonstrate how the Waypoint mission setup on the DJI Mavic 3T operates. I loaded a number of waypoints into the Mavic 3T in the comfort of my room, and just by using Wi-Fi and the maps that are part of the system. And then I went out to the actual location and executed that mission. So you push a button, you get the drone up in the sky, you push a button, the mission takes over, and then the drone flies a prepared route. I'll kind of have that Onyx map version of what I planned on doing later in the video, but it was pretty neat as a wildlife photographer or herd manager or person that's looking at a particular parcel. It's helpful to have the drone kind of fly on autopilot, and then you can manipulate the controls. Here I'm finding an infrared signature from an animal, not sure of the animal yet, trying to figure out what it is. And you can see that I'm using the zoom and the IR to pinpoint this animal, get in the position, and then identify. It's a lot easier when the drone is flying itself. What happens when you find an animal like this, you'll pause that automatic mission so you can maneuver the drone to the best location to photograph the animal. And that's what I was doing here. The mission is paused and I am searching for the animal. You'll see the animals basically come up pretty soon here as I hover, and now I zoom with the Mavic 3T zoom camera. Pretty good shot, very close to 7:30-ish, late April in northern Ohio. So the sun's going way down, not optimal light, but we can see these deer very easily. If you notice, I've been to this location before, they're moving back into the control burn area, or at least some of the deer are. Later in the video, I'll show you kind of a neat observation. But as I fly here, like we do, we bounce in and out of IR to make sure we know where the deer are. You're going to see some deer coming up that are just about completely covered with the canopy. I have no problems finding them, or the drone had no problems finding them with the infrared, but to the zoom camera, it took a little bit of poking and figuring out where these animals were. It was a fairly thick canopy. The trees are starting to leaf out, but IR is the way to go if you want to find a deer with a drone. My opinion, it was well worth the expense. So I just monitored these two deer for a while, kind of interested in the behavior, where they're heading. Remember, it's evening, so it's getting darker or less light, and it looks like the animals, pretty soon you'll see that they are going to kind of group in one area. So I pushed the button, I'm continuing the mission, the drone is basically flying itself, I'm operating the camera, and I'm just looking for thermal signatures on the pre-planned route. As I get out here a little ways, you'll see both dark and light spots. Start to see some what I believe are animals coming up. The white dots that are kind of in the middle of the screen now. And now it's kind of time to process that information, see what they are. Did see other animals besides deer on this trip. and they'll be coming up soon. But here's another grouping of deer. We're going to do the same thing, IR, then we're going to zoom, kind of determine what the deer are. Here's kind of a zoom look. We're looking at the animals. We're kind of getting the drone in position. And what you don't see in this particular view are the drone controls that have the sight window for zooming in and out of the deer. It's a little bit distracting, but here, we can get right down to where the deer are. Kind of neat. A lot of deer I saw on this trip were browsing on maybe 3 feet tall shrubbery along the edge of the transition zone. They were looking for some particular stuff while they were out in the field, but I saw a lot of them on the edge, and they were looking for what I believe are, good tasting buds. So position myself here, 1, 2, 3, 4 deer, pretty easily seen. With the IR, you'll see that one in the bottom left corner there, but with the canopy, it makes it difficult. Now, you can maneuver the drone around and get, different angles, but you gotta think about that and what you're actually doing. I verified they were deer. I kind of stayed more in the IR mode and kind of processed this particular area. So 5 deer in this shot here, or 4 deer in a raccoon or possum or groundhog to the left. But here are the deer kind of out browsing in this field. What happens is the river comes out of its banks. That's where all this kind of like dead wood is kind of there. And then, the deer are just grazing along. Kind of a nice night. Overcast. It was rain, sprinkling. Nice night for thermal imagery. But the wind wasn't super duper, high winds. And like I said, it was right before sunset. And I was still getting good video and photography. Just bouncing in and out on this deer as they meander through here, browsing, looking for something in particular. I mean, my experience has been lately that they're very particular at some times over the year on a particular type of food, and I think they move pretty fluidly to get to where that food might be. So wanted to continue the mission, push the button again. The drone's flying itself now. Here we have a what looks to be another deer up ahead. It is, I would say, more likely in the timber here, going kind of maybe in and out of view. So I had questions in my mind what was going on here. And now it looks like there's 2 actual animals in this location. And I'm going to try to determine what they are and give you guys a better look at them. Trying to get the cameras in position. When you're zooming, I think it was 320 feet. This is a good example of canopied off deer. So there are deer there. They're underneath kind of a canopy, and you'll see them move in the screen. Glimpses of them, but IR they're very they're easily identifiable. So like I said, 320 feet up, there's a deer right there in the center of the screen, under the canopy, very easily found with the IR, but the zoom is a little bit more difficult. But 320 feet up, moving back and forth from zoomed camera to IR camera to just make sure I stay pinpointed on the deer. And that's, one of the beauties of the DJI. It's a great tool. So here I just kind of give you what I was looking through to see these deer, and what the process took to actually get a small clip of them as they move through this more of a timber area. Upcoming, I put the drone back on the mission. I'm bouncing in and out of here just to show you what the canopy, what you have to look through, and then what you don't have to look through when you're in IR mode. Looks like they're moving down here, maybe to a more open area. But this is wildlife observations from well outside the zone where you would bother them. If I was on the ground and 320 feet away and upwind of them, they would not like that and they would move off. Coincidentally, prior to this flight, a family of 4 took a walk on these nature trails that go through this piece of public, and so I flew probably 20 minutes after that happened, and you'll see that the deer moved right back out into the area pretty quickly. So now it's time to continue the mission. I showed you a little bit about looking through the timber at the deer with the IR and with the zoom camera, the challenges without the IR. Continue flying my pre-programmed mission and looking for thermal images that might be wildlife. And here, this is quite interesting. I'm coming up to a spot, and you can see kind of a faint white dot in the center of the screen. I'm trying to position the drone so I can determine what this is. Probably still too early for fawns, and what I found was a raccoon. So, drone's up 320 feet, almost, nightfall basically, and picked up a raccoon down in this beat down grass a little bit. So I spin the drone around, and then I get into the kind of herd I was talking about. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 deer, and then kind of the area they were in. Here's an old barrel, and you're going to see some pretty interesting activity coming up, and some actual deer that I'll classify as bucks, and the behavior that they were exhibiting in this particular location. So there's a number of deer in this photo. In the lower right-hand corner, you can see the deer. I would determine these were bucks. They were at a mineral lick. The mineral lick is, well gone. I can't see any kind of a block or anything. But the hole that they're licking is probably 4 inches, below ground level. And you'll see some dominant buck activity here. You'll definitely see some changes in size of deer. So it looks like you might have a 1-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a 3-year-old in this shot here. And they're all pawing crazily at this mineral lick, which is, well below the surface. Another buck comes in, the more dominant buck runs them off. The 2-year-old comes back in, another buck comes in, ears pinned back. This is a bad dude right here. Looks light, high. This is another deer that just keeps circling around and hitting this lick, but ears pinned back and ready to go without antlers. So buck activity on this particular trip that I haven't captured thus far. So I was able to get some buck interaction on this one, which is pretty cool, and just kind of gives you an idea what we're zoomed out. One of these bucks is probably a 3-year-old. Some people use that 3.5-year-old deal. Who cares? It's the 3rd season on this buck, wherever it's at, and they are oblivious to the drone 320 feet above them, and it's not the rut, so they're still on the lookout, even though they're hitting that mineral lick. So here's the shot of kind of the buck and additional deer. And what it was, I don't know if the activity brought more deer in, but what you're going to see now is like, a small city on the horizon where there's a lot of deer. So this was another successful trip. You can't see them in the wide angle camera, barely. And then you go zoom and IR, and then you can pick out the individual deer and determine what they are. So here's just a little short clip of the deer going into off the grass and into kind of the brown dead grass. There's a shot of the actual mineral lick. It's this is a pretty well managed herd. And as I zoomed out with IR, and then you kind of seeing the deer. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 deer in this shot, I think, or before I started my turn. I'm going to roll up here. There's a kind of like a caravan walking up the trail, and then I'm going to meet the 3 deer that were there, and I call them the 3 amigos. You'll see the caravan going up in the screen, and then they're going to run into these 3 deer. So, I mean, it's deer activity kind of stuff, mature, immature deer. Here's one just, deer laying down, the deer browsing. So spin around a little bit, 2 deer to the left with a 3rd to the further left. And, just processing these deer, determining what they're doing, what they are, and as they move across this particular area. Very calm this particular night. Maybe it was the rain that, they think that, predators are less likely to be after them. With the rain, there's less field activity from the farmers in the area, so that might, agitate them less. But, I lifted up the camera, I tilted up, and there's, 10 more deer. So that's kind of, I'm backing up here to kind of give you a glimpse of all the white hot spots in this particular area. So there it is. And, you can pause and count them. I'm not going to. There's a lot of deer there. Too much for the area, too little. I'm not that person that would determine that. Jeff at Whitetail Habitat Solutions, the MSU Deer Lab, Mississippi State University Deer Lab, they might be able to provide you with that kind of information. I just kind of show where the deer are, kind of reinforce they're in a transition. They move from bedding to food. Right now they're I just learned that, in April, they're hitting a mineral lick, and they're hitting it pretty hard. So, if you had a trail camera and you put out a mineral lick, maybe you can expect to see, what deer you have in your area. That might be a good suggestion. But just kind of processing these deer to fill out the mission. Here I'm on auto flight mode. And then because of the deer, I'm going to go off of it pretty quick. My route was kind of along the river, and you'll see that in the still photography that I include. But I'm just continuing to fly. The drone's on autopilot. It does the turns automatically. It kind of does a thing where it flies through the turn and then will straighten itself up. And then over there on the left, the upper left, there was another deer. So, I don't know, we're up to now 25, 26, 27 deer. Here, they kind of snuck out after I got through the canopy, 3 more. And they were, on the transition, on an inside corner, kind of backed up against the river. We've talked about these choke points, a great place to maybe put a saddle. I don't know about a permanent tree stand. I was a permanent tree stand hunter, but now I've gone either on the ground or saddle hunting, and that's what I do. I'm done tree stand hunting. I might have some stuff to give away to the guys this year. I'm not interested anymore. Across the river there, you can see at least 3 more deer. Those are indicated by the white hot spot. This may be a squirrel. Squirrels tend to look like they're suspended in the tree, and here we come down. We kind of go back through the heavy deer area, and kind of give you an idea like where these deer are. This is kind of like an open oxbow here, but they're feeding along this area. So we had does, yearlings. We had a number of bucks, and on this particular mission, that was a healthy deer you just saw a zoomed in shot of. And I'm just traveling around a fairly small parcel. It's mixed ag, river bottom, flood zone kind of a thing. Some timber, nature walking trails, kind of a mixture here in the upper Midwest, and giving you a flavor of what might be out there. Not real sure, how this is going to progress over the years, the rest of the spring and then into the summer and into the fall. But I'm going to try my best to keep my eye on it. Here we see the dark spot, and what we're going to find out, we're going to find a hunting blind, a portable hunting blind, soft fabric material, kind of along that edge, and there's some kind of a trash bag, like in the shrubbery next to it. I'm not sure what's going on here. It is turkey season. It might be a turkey hunter. I'm not really sure, but I'm going to swing around here, and you're going to see, easily within shotgun range, it looks like 5 deer. I don't know what the shooting lane is right here, but you might even be able to get an arrow through there. Not really sure. But that blind was probably in the right place. Zoomed in on this deer. It's a nice looking deer. And then it started to sprinkle a little bit more, so I headed back to the launch site. The Mavic 3T is not weatherproof. I don't really want to be out in the rain flying a drone anyway, but it's just something to think about when you make your drone purchase if you go that route. So I'm heading back to the launch site. Started to sprinkle a little bit. I'll put the drone away, wipe it down. And that was kind of the end of the mission I would like to share. I will also include the Onyx map that was part of this that I kind of used to mark out my locations and keep you informed of how that goes. But to Boomer Outdoorsman, over and out. Please like and subscribe, and give me constructive criticism. Thank you. Bye-bye.